She went into the jail wanting to share Jesus, but she found Jesus in the jail. That's paraphrasing, but I think it captures the heart and soul of the faith of a dear person who's been kind enough to join us for My Faith with Homer and Pip. Her name is Linda Pischke, and we are so delighted to have her with us. I think her faith story will inspire many, many people. So without further ado, I'm Tommy Pippins. We're produced by Brett Young. Steve the Homer True had the vision for My Faith with Homer and Pip, and he always starts us off. Homer?
Tommy, as usual, awesome. It's never about my faith. I know it's going to be great, Linda. It's just I'm always curious where you want to start. There's so much. It's so special. But where do you want to begin now that you're telling us about your faith?
Well, I guess I would have to begin with my family of origin. My parents were very devout Lutherans. I came from a long list of Protestant individuals. And as a family growing up, we always attended church. But more than that, my parents were very involved in helping other people. It was part of the family. It was no big deal. If there was a need, you helped with that need. My mom was a nurse, and if there was someone sick in the neighborhood, she would make house calls. If they needed injections and things like that. My dad was always fixing things and helping the neighbor men dig fence posts and vice versa. And they also served in their church in various areas. So I grew up seeing that as the norm, and went to high school and college. And in college, I belonged to the Lutheran Student Association. We were very involved at UWM with different types of things. Graduated, went on to be a social worker, but first got married and had children and did home daycare. And then later, when my children were older, went to work in a nursing home. So the faith part was always there. The outreach was always there. But we didn't really see it as anything significant other than what you do. There was nothing outstanding about it.
What touched you? It's part of your family, it's your parents, but you now go to church and you at some point develop a relationship with God, with Jesus. What kicked or what happened there at what age?
I don't think anything in particular. I think it was a slow growing process. You obviously have trials and tribulations as you go through life, whether it's as a young person or when you're married or with your children. And eventually you learn to depend on God and have more faith and learn to turn things over and do what you feel he expects of you. But I don't think there was any one moment that was an aha moment for me.
When did you or when do you feel closest to God?
When I'm praying, and sometimes when I'm in trouble emotionally or in a situation I can't deal with, that's when I feel the closest.
I know there's prison here. It's a strange question to ask on My Faith, but Tommy led with it, so let's go there.
Well, as a nursing home social worker, I believed that seniors needed to stay connected to their community. That's a part of the loss that they experience. So in each of the facilities I worked in, I started a group of seniors who could do some type of outreach. We would have a weekly meeting. We would invite speakers to come in, and then the group would decide what they would do for that organization. For instance, we had a local daycare come in, and they needed a stroller cover for their Bye Bye Baby cover. And so we would then decide as a group how we're going to raise money to buy this stroller. And we would have a bake sale, and the staff would buy brownies and things like that. The staff would bring the brownies and then they'd buy them back. Sometimes we made apple pies, and that was our big funding. And so then we would buy the stroller cover, and the group would come with their babies and show them the results of what my group had done. And in the last facility that I worked in, one of them, we invited Father Joe Warner, a retired priest from Waukesha County Jail, who was the head of the jail ministry. And he came and talked about his ministry. And what could we do for them? Well, they needed notebooks and paper and pencils and things for their AODA classes. So our group got involved, and we got a wonderful poster signed by the inmates. And I thought, oh, this is really nice. I was pleased with the results. And then Father Joe invited us to come to the jail to see it. Well, I happened to be out sick and didn't go for the tour. My residents did. And then at a later time, I was laid off from that facility. And I was complaining to my best friend, who's also a Christian. And I said, Father Joe invited me to go to the jail, and I keep thinking about that. She said, well, then you better go. And she said, I have no idea why I said that, but you better go. So I went on a Sunday morning to Sunday morning services. And I need to back up a little bit and say that I'm a writer by hobby. And then I walked into the gymnasium where Father Joe was sitting with the male inmates. It was a men's service. And he said, gentlemen, this is Linda Pischke, and we have been praying for someone to write a newsletter. And out of my mouth popped, I can do that. And it was like my girlfriend was saying, okay, this is why you're here. So raise your hand. So I did. And it started there. I started a jail newsletter, and we went with that for a couple of years. Father Joe retired, and the new chaplain was a woman, and she said, can you please do a women's writing group? Or no, Bible study. She said Bible study. And I said, I don't do Bible studies. I don't know much about Bible studies, but I could do a journaling group. So that's where it all started. And for about 8 or 10 years, I went in every Wednesday night and did a women's Bible study / journaling group / women's just get to know you kind of group. And we did everything that we could with the limitations of the jail. And we had guest speakers, we had drumming, we had writing, we had prayer time. We did a lot of singing, and it was just wonderful. But the thing that bothered me the most was that these women kept coming back over this period of time, these 10 years. And they gotten into the same kind of trouble. They were out on Friday night and blah, blah, blah. And then they were back in the jail. And never once in that 10 years did I hear my girlfriend and I watched a movie together. My girlfriend and I took the kids to the park, whatever. It was always my boyfriend, my ex, my pimp, my drug addict. They had no female relationships. And we provided in that Wednesday night group female relationships. So I decided they needed me on the outside more than they needed me on the inside. So I left the jail ministry and started a women's group that we call Joyful Souls. And that's been going on for 10 years, every Friday night in Waukesha. And it has just been a joy because women come on Friday night, party night, and they do something different. They do an entirely different lifestyle in that time. I'll stop so you can ask questions.
No, you need to watch this because you don't even realize that you had a certain face. And then when you started talking about this, you started to smile. It created a smile. And so now I want to know more.
Okay. So a couple of the previous inmates helped me get this started. And we decided that having a group every week, just like I had in the nursing home, was very important. They have to be able to depend on that you're going to be there on Friday nights. And we started out with Bible studies with guest speakers, very much the same modality that I used in the nursing home. And we had mentors. And after all along this 10 years, we have had almost an equal number of mentors from our church, from friends, whatever, that come on a Friday night. Like tonight, we will probably have 8 women. We'll probably have 8 mentors. God always provides what we need. And we've learned so much over time. They needed a friend. They need to feel accepted. Sometimes they talk about their problems. Sometimes they don't. But we have seen tremendous things happen. One of our worst prostitutes / drug addicts, and she would tell me, she would admit to this if she was here, has now got her master's degree in counseling, drug addiction counseling. Others we've seen become clean and sober. Some of them have to come to the group at the request of their parole officers, and I have to sign for them to show that they're showing up. But what happens in that group is just amazing. God has provided it. Everybody says you do so much work. We really don't do so much work. It's there. It's given to us. I have an individual who gives me unlimited money to spend on this group. And we're within reason. But for instance, we try to encourage the women to do things for others. They've always been on the receiving end, even though it's not necessarily the best receiving end. They have never learned to do things for others. Oh, we might want to make blankets for an Indian reservation. Well, we have this money to buy the materials and make the blankets. We might want to cook for shut-ins. Say we know somebody who has had surgery, and so our group will get together and we'll make meals and freeze them. And then the women each get to take a meal home as well. We learn how to cook. We have another wonderful mentor who is a previous caterer, and she comes in and cooks meals, and the church people bring in meals. So there's always enough, and we try to do as much as we can to give them the kind of upbringing that I had and that the other mentors have had, which is normal women friendships. And of course, prayer and godliness is a part of that, but we believe that we preach the gospel by example in that group. It's not crammed down anybody's throat, but there's plenty of opportunities to pray together and talk together. So one of the things that started back in the nursing home, one of the last nursing homes, was when Father Joe was there. We started providing gift bags for the inmates at the Waukesha County Jail, Easter and Christmas. And homemade cookies, candy, an envelope with stationery, and a stamp. So that was in about 2001, and that's been going on for 20 years. We've done 20,000 gift bags in that time. My group of 10 years, the ex-offenders group, so we've done 10,000. We do 500 at Christmas, 500 at Easter. My church bakes 84 dozen cookies, and we never count how many are coming in, and there's always enough. And the mentor buys the candy, and we stamp the envelopes and sit down 2 Friday nights and bag everything, and it's delivered to the jail. The women are very excited about this ministry because many of them were on the receiving end. And they were so blessed that a group on the outside thought enough of them at Christmas and Easter to provide a gift bag. So they're very excited about doing the same thing for the inmates that are there currently. We do retreats at a horse ranch. Tonight we're doing a bonfire if it doesn't rain. COVID has slowed us down. We're doing just outdoor things right now. Said over the winter, last winter, I just did a lot of letter writing to them, sent them things in the mail to keep in touch. phone calls, because it just was too dangerous to be inside in the group. The women are allowed to bring their children. We have raised babies from newborn up to kindergarten. Everybody passes the baby around and takes care of it. We have young girls as old as 14 and 15 that come with their moms and love the group, even though there's nothing special that we do. There's grandmas there, and there's mentors, and there's friends. Not everyone has been in prison. One member has a mom who's an addict, who is now clean and sober. Another member has mental health issues and has no friends, so she comes. And then our church sponsored a refugee family that don't have a lot of friends, and mom and daughter and new baby now come to the group. And the daughter translates for mom, who doesn't speak English, but everybody fits together. It's just an amazing combination. It is not me or the mentors. It is definitely the Holy Spirit that provides all of this for us. We just provide the night and the food. And it's just it's joyful souls. It definitely is joyful.
I know why you smile. You have to be so proud of all the stories. And this started as my faith. I feel like the new title should be How Great Thou Art in Speaking to God, because that's what all these stories tend to be. And yours is a great example.
Thank you. It's unusual. We have people that come to see how we're doing this from other areas and hopeful to start it on their own. But there's nothing unusual about what we do. It's just providing friendship and a community for people who have no community. These women have come up through abuse and neglect and drugs and being hated by everybody. And this is their first opportunity to really have friends, healthy friends that love them very much.
It's too bad Mother Teresa isn't alive. She always claimed that people think of helping the poor in terms of food. And she said, no, the biggest poor is love, lack of love. People not, and it would seem that you have discovered that or knew that and see it every week.
Yes, that we do. That we do. And our group has been small. I mean, we might have 8 at a time, but then when I think back over the last 10 years, we do get visits and things from people that are no longer in the group that are doing amazingly well. And so I always say to the mentors, we might only be ministering to 1 or 2 people tonight, but we don't know what they go out and do for others. And we're trying to teach them to mentor each other. I have to tell you one of the most beautiful stories. We have, we actually have 2 women that are mentally ill, and one also has some developmental disability, just a little bit slow. And I gotta back up always. We have something called Shop the Couch, where people donate lovely clothes and they can come in and they can try stuff on and take stuff home and whatever, it's free. And somebody brought a whole bag of beautiful sandals, brand new sandals. And each of the girls picked stuff and put them on. And this woman named Judy was just sitting there, and another woman named Brenda, who's one of my hardest drug addicts, said, Judy, aren't you going to take some sandals? And Judy says, no, I don't think so. And Brenda said, sit down. And she tried sandals on her. And all I could think of was foot washing. And it was just what they do for each other, what I see them do and reach out for each other is just incredible. Because they're learning how to do that from the mentors. We have a mentor that's 84 years old. We have a college professor from Carroll College that's in her 30s and brings her daughter. She came just to see what we were about and never left. And we have moms and we have, you name it. They come and they become mentors, and we all do things together. We learn to sew, we learn to crochet. Um, I couldn't even come up with a list right now of what we've done in 10 years.
I will defer to Tommy, but I do have to say, it would seem there need to be way more groups like the one, like this. Have you come to that conclusion as well?
That's true. And I think people are concerned about cost, but actually we do a lot of things that really don't cost anything. And a lot of our church members will say, can I grill out for you Friday night, or can I bring you a casserole? The meal is probably the thing that costs the most. And of course we have St. Dismas Jail Ministry behind us. And if I wanted to use their money, I could, but I haven't had to. So food is probably the number one thing, but we get a lot of free things. We get our teachers. Can I come and teach a class? And can I come and teach them to sew? Can I come and do this? Can I lead a Bible study? So actually there is more offered to us than we can even use in terms of time frame. So for anybody that wants to do something, I think the number one thing is to have it every week. And the number two thing is to just be open to the gifts that people bring.
Tommy, you're amazing. Take it away.
Well, she's amazing, and the Holy Spirit is too. Linda, I'm going to embarrass you a little bit because that's what I do, right? Linda was a light that shined in that gloomy place. She saw something in me that I didn't. She stayed in touch with me when I went to prison and gave me strength to get through. When I was released, she helped me get back on my feet. She continued to pray, mentor, and love me no matter what. She never gave up on me. As I look back, Linda has shown me a love I got from my family. She is an amazing woman of faith. I want to go back to what I paraphrased earlier about, and I don't know if it's 100% accurate. If not, I apologize, Linda, but you went trying to share Jesus, but you saw Jesus. These people who many sweep away are God's people. Jesus told us that. And somehow, some way, you just love them. How does your faith factor into that? And can you talk about seeing Jesus in others before you can share Christ with them?
So many of the women were far more along than I was, further along, I should say, than I was in their Bible reading, their Bible study, and their faith walk. And so I learned a lot from them. Yes, I was Lutheran. Yes, I did all the things I needed to do in terms of Sunday school and confirmation and stuff. But these people, for instance, there's two of them, Joy and Pamela. And Joy taught Pamela how to read so that Pamela could read the Bible. So their faith is just incredible. This happened in the jail, this particular occurrence. So that's what I saw. I saw that in a handful of them that was far more faith than I had. And it helped me to grow in faith. They were praying for me and still do, and vice versa. When we would sing together, we had all these Christian camp songs, Do Lord, and the songs you sing at communion, that's what we were singing. It was like angel voices. You just had to be there. I always felt that from that song, we're standing on holy ground. And that's exactly what I feel in the jail, is holy ground. And certainly there are a lot who have no knowledge of God. They don't even know the Christmas story. But there's that handful that have faith beyond what I would ever have. Faith that has led them through terrible sexual abuse and drug addictions and things like that. And so they taught me. That's why I found Jesus in the jail. And they reintroduced him to me.
Speaking of that, would you talk about your marvelous book, The Women of Block 12?
Well, being a hobby writer, soon after I got in there, I realized, oh my gosh, people need to know what is going on with these women. We need to understand that these are not just bad people that you ignore. And so I started working on a book of my experiences. The first third of the book is what actually happened over that 10 years. And then the second section is the women's stories. I had women that I've never met write to me from other facilities, write their stories. I hired an attorney, a copyright attorney, and I paid them for their stories. And so I think there are 10 or 11 stories in the book. Some of those women still are in contact with me. Tisa, who's in the book, she's the one that met with the degree in counseling now. They would go from the jail to like one of the prisons and they'd serve their time. And then they would tell them that I was writing a book and I'm looking for stories. And you probably would expect, oh, well, they'll write whatever. I got the most heartfelt, touching, no question, true stories because they were unloading all the awful things they had done and all the guilt that they carried. And probably the most heartfelt story that I got was a woman who had seen her mother kill her 2-year-old baby sister. And she said, Linda, I tried to stop her from crying by giving her water from the back of the toilet. And then she puts in there, that is clean water, isn't it, Linda? Now, she had never met me. So she's feeding this baby sister clean water in hopes from the toilet, in hopes that keep her quiet. Well, mom ended up killing her. And then this woman that I wrote to, had many, many things, bad things happen to her and ended up in jail. Well, she's out and living in Racine, and I'm on Facebook with her. She's been out for years. And we keep in touch, and she's doing really well. So I got all these stories, some of them from women I knew, some of them from women I did not know. And they kind of, well, they all fell together. They were a gift to me. And from the Holy Spirit, people were inspired to write their stories. And my hope was that people that read the book will understand that these aren't people that just one day decide to go out and do drugs and steal something. These are hurting people that God loves, and they love God, but they have no idea what is normal. And they're very proud to be in the book. They all got a copy plus their pay, and it's just a tremendous blessing.
Come on, Homer. I know that mind is swirling.
No, I think we started and she's smiling and now we're smiling. It's man, it's my faith. It's God, how great thou art, and the incredible people. I mean, so how do I get the book? How do I start a group? Anybody watching or listening to this is, I would believe, encouraged or thinking, what can I do a little bit like what Linda's done?
You can do it with one person. Secretary from our church called me last week and she said, we've been helping a homeless woman with a couple of kids. And she said, we helped her out financially. She said, but she needs friends. And she said, can she come to your group? Well, of course she can. And she said, can I come with her? And I said, yes, that is usually the case because they're afraid to come alone. They think we're going to cram the Bible down their throat and ask them to talk about their crimes and things like that. So usually if you team up with one person and you find a person that needs a friend, that's where you start. And you don't give them stuff. I mean, it's not like, okay, now I have to pay this for you and pay that. You're just there for them. You guide them to the services that they need. Maybe they need food share. Maybe they need to Social Security application. Maybe they need to go for a walk with their baby in a stroller. Maybe, you know, that type of thing. And this is all they need. And really, it just makes such a difference. And, you know, you can take them to that group, you can take them to another group.
Have you found that men, you focus on, have you found that men need friends the same way you've discovered women?
Yes, as a matter of fact, one of the men in our ministry has started a men's group, and he meets every Thursday night, and they do Bible study. They don't do hands-on things, but that's been a very successful group as well. And they mentor each other through difficult times. A lot of them are sex offenders, and their resources and friends are almost zero. But he has a good, strong group going. And back when I started this exterior ministry, St. Dismas, I was told by the president that that's not going to work. Oh, it did.
Linda, I've
Wow.
watched in action, and maybe you can talk in general terms about the St. Dismas jail ministry out of Waukesha. People might have interest that way. But as people who have been incarcerated come out, they need help through St. Vincent de Paul, the store, and that sort of thing. People have issues, they fall, they get up, they fall down, they get up, they fall down again. There are addiction problems, there are issues with mental health, and you never give up. You just never give up on trying to help these people. Please talk about that from your vast experience and certainly from the component of your faith.
Well, I'll talk a little bit about the ministry first. It is a part of the St. Vincent de Paul conference in Waukesha, and the jail ministry is a conference in itself. And money is provided through donations and through the sales in the St. Vincent de Paul thrift shop. And we have a considerable amount of funds, people that have been coming out of jail or prison. Within the last year, we will help them with anything from rent to bus passes to job referrals to clothing vouchers. Some are hungry, we have them lunch, we give them hygiene bags. And so many of them really do move on and do better. There is a percentage that will never do better. There are mental health issues, there are drug addiction issues, and by the way, we do support people at treatment. But if we move that into the women's group, over the years, I've had some really hard cases. People that didn't have a chance. The woman who is now the therapist, another woman who has been with me from the beginning, from the women's writing group in the jail. That is close to 20 years, and she's clean and sober for the first time in the last 5 months. And so you just don't stop, and you don't judge them. You know, you meet them where they're at. I know when they're lying to me, so most of them don't come around me. They think that they can fool me by not showing up. And finally they come back because they want to know, you know, how am I doing and how are you? And, you know, they'll fill me in on their life. I guess that's the point of Joyful Souls. We don't ever turn them away. And they know that they can come. They know that they'll be accepted. They might be high when they come to group. Chances are they're not, though, because they don't want the rest of the people to see them that way. I guess, does that answer your question? We don't give up because we love them, for one thing. Most of them call me mom. And it's just, you know, the one who's now the addiction counselor. She's an African American woman, and my daughter is as blonde can be, and she's adopted. And she calls me mom, and she says, "I don't know about you," she said to my daughter, "but one of us is adopted." So they tease back and forth, you know. So just teaching each other to love people despite the differences.
What do you, forgive me, what do you say, Linda Pischke, to the person out there who either knows someone who, or maybe has come across this by God's grace and says, I'm hopeless. There is no hope for me. I might consider suicide. Who knows what? What do you say to that person, or to the person who knows that person, perhaps a family member?
You can't change them. You can lead them to resources. There are many good resources in our community and other communities. Making sure that they're getting their Social Security disability if they have a disability, so that they have medications and things that go along with that. Leading them to groups that are Al-Anon and things, offering them treatment, because if they're on Badger Care or some of those, or Title 19, they do have treatment available, encouraging them to try those things. But like they say, you can lead a horse to water, and until they're ready, they're not going to do anything. And we certainly have a handful of those in the jail ministry, but it's surprising how many come around. Mental illness is a really, really tough one. And if they can't get their medications or won't take their medications, yeah, I don't have an answer.
But I know you pray for them, that's for certain. Do you mind if I ask, isn't one of your dear friends someone who will never walk among men and women again, but yet has an incredible faith? She's an out-of-stater. If you could talk generally and the letters and what you've learned and how she's helped.
Yes, that's another way to mentor people. There's prison pen pals, but I went through Letters for the Lord, and I asked for a pen pal got one in Florida. She has got life without parole. She murdered her 18-month-old daughter because of postpartum psychosis, but she was Black and she couldn't afford a good attorney, and she got life without parole. Many things went wrong with her trial. The judge was sleeping with someone in the prosecutor's office at the time of her trial, and the psychologist who assessed her had a student do it and changed the answers on her report. So she just was a slam dunk, life without parole. She is probably one of the most wonderful, faith-filled people, again, who mentors me. She's trying desperately to get them to look at her case. It's not likely that anyone will. So within the prison walls, she has decided that whatever God wants from her is what she teaches English as a second language. She teaches math and GED courses. She has a few people that she writes to. She's terribly grieved over the fact that she killed her daughter. There's so many cases like that, but you can actually save a life by writing to someone in prison. That is one of the most wonderful things to do, is write to a prisoner.
Homer, can we add to that?
No, I can't. I can't add anything. I just want you to finish, and then I want to watch it, and then watch it again, and then watch it again, and figure out, as Mother Teresa said, not having food is not the poorness that most people deal with. I think Linda has explained that perfectly.
Yeah, and that's a beautiful comment, buddy. Linda, is there anything in closing that you want to let people come away with as it relates to faith, as an experience you've had? I mean, we could talk forever, I know, but is there anything you'd like to close us out with, please?
Well, one of the most meaningful things I ever read was by Jill Briscoe. I think it was her book, There's a Snake in My Garden. And she said, people ask her, what is the will of God for my life? And her answer was, the will of God is that which lies immediately in front of you, whether it's washing the dishes or caring for your child or going out and helping somebody in a ministry. And that has really impacted my life. And I have passed that on to my girls, as I call them, and Joyful Souls. Right now, you just might be a mom, and that might be God's will for your life. But always look at every task as something that God has given you to do. And he will lead you in the correct direction. When I wake up in the morning, I say, well, thanks for getting me up, because I'm getting to the age where that's not going to be for too many more years. And thanks for getting me up, and show me who I can serve today. And every day he gives me a job. It might be just making somebody smile or something small, but quite often it's a little bit bigger task than I had in mind, and can lead me into, really kind of over challenging myself. But I always recognize that it's God's work. And I think if we are open to him on a daily basis, we will find so much joy in our life. What he gives back to me through these women is far more than I can ever give to him or to them. They are a true blessing. When you hear women who have had such a terrible background tell you over and over again, I love you, Linda, that, and they mean it. This is not just that you can say I love you to so many people. And once in a while we run into people. I was at the jail. This was when I was still going in, and I was waiting to go up to the group, and a young woman in her 20s, by that time I had met several hundred, and she says, Linda, do you remember me? And I said, no, I don't. She introduced herself. She had a little girl with her, and she said, honey, this is the lady who took care of Mama when she was in jail, and I'm in college, he said. So you never know. You just simply don't know who you touch or who they in turn touch. And I think that it makes for a very exciting life. I'm never bored, never. That's it.
Homer, I had to twist Linda's arm, but I'm sure glad she and the Holy Spirit decided to grace us with their presence today on My Faith with Homer and Pip.
Thank you.
So many.
Thank you for having me.
So many are going to be so lucky for so long, because you don't know this, Linda, but this is on YouTube forever. You now exist. Your story exists forever. Now people, and those will feel just like some of the ladies you've worked with. They'll feel grateful to have learned, discovered, and I'm certain changed their lives in a way also. So thank you.
Thank you.
My Faith with Homer and Pip. Brent Young is our marvelous producer, and Pischke, I love you, and I'm so blessed that you're in my life. And thank you for being in the lives of my good friends here and all those, as Homer said, you will touch. Take good care.